Welcome to Hammerspace Recording. My name is Troy Nababan. Little different video for you today because you know what? In about a week's time, it is everybody's favorite time of year, and that is Black Friday. And like everybody else on the face of the earth that has a product to sell, Hammerspace Recording has 50% off all of the TONEX captures that I've done so far that are available on the website. So if you're in the mood to support another little guy over here with some big fat dreams and fat tones, then please head over to the website hammerspacerecording.com and you can go and check out what I've got to offer. I thought today might be cool just to run through volume 1. I have got a video about this that I put out quite a long time ago, but it doesn't have a lot of views. That's fine. And you know, it's worthwhile just kind of demonstrating again what we've got on display for you. So in addition to that, if you watched my video from a couple of days ago on the Marshall SC20 with the number 34 mod, I actually released 6 free TONEX captures for that amp that are available on the website. And yeah, those will be free for forever. Please go and check those out as well, because I think those tones are pretty cool, and I think you might dig that if you like rock and roll sounds like I do. To move on to the Volume 1 pack, there are ranging between, I think, about 16 and 30 different captures per amp. There's 5 amps available. There is the Cornford MK50 head. There is a Mesa Boogie Stiletto. There is an 80A MP1 with a Fryette 292 power amp. There is a modified Marshall JMP. It's a 1977 JMP modified by Headfirst with some different switches and whatnot in there. And finally, there's Akasha Evil Robot combo. So some different choices. It's not just for me like, well, let's just have another 5150. And I love those sounds, and I've made quite a few of those myself. But I'm lucky enough to have access to some pretty cool amps, so hopefully you'll like the sounds that are in there. So once again, in each pack, there's quite a few different tones to choose from. The Evil Robot is the one that has the least amount of choices, only because there's not a hell of a lot of ways to dial in the tones on that. There's not a lot of knobs and switches and whatnot. Each amp has effectively 2 captures per sound. There is a mic'd up cabinet version with an SM57 and a Roy 121. So I've dialed in some sounds, I've run it through the cabinet, mic'd it up, got it to sound to where I think it sounds pretty cool, and then done a TONEX capture. And then I've also given you a version where it's just the head by itself. So if you have an impulse response that you prefer to use on a particular amp sound, you can throw that on there and use that instead. Additionally, if you like some of the cabinets that I've recorded and the speakers that I've recorded, I've taken impulse responses of all the cabinets and the exact same miking position. So theoretically, you could recreate the full capture if you take the DI capture and the impulse response and smash them together. It should sound pretty much the same. Or you can just mix and match as you like. Each profile, if it has a C on the end of it, like this says HS for Hammerspace, Corn for Cornford, MK50, who knows what that means, OD1C, so C is for cabinet. There's a couple of different tones depending on the amount of gain, so there's some cleaner ones, some slightly driven ones, and some higher gain ones. Overall, they aren't like super duper high gain, detuned 8-string type of sounds, which is just not really the stuff that I do, therefore it's not the sounds that I made. In saying that, I'd like to think that it doesn't mean you can't use these sounds with that sort of music. I think it might just take a little bit more tweaking. Some of the tones might require a little bit more gain, or maybe putting like some filtering before the amp if it just gets a bit too spongy sounding. But I'll leave that to all of your own ideas and expertise to make that happen. Last thing, just before we listen to some sounds, these are the original TONEX captures. They aren't the updated version 2 or whatever it's called. Although that was done with the SC834. This guy here, my modified SC20 amp. It is on my to-do list to remake all these tones with the new updated TONEX mic modeling, and I think it sounds pretty good. But to be honest, what's stopped me, apart from time, which is always a big problem for everybody, but I was pretty happy with the tones that I made in the first place, and I did compare the tones I made to the actual amp sounds, and they were about as close as I could really expect or need. So it sort of hasn't, apart from the fact that I know everyone sort of likes them and wants them, it hasn't really been on the top of my priority list because I'm personally still really happy just to use the tones that are in there. In saying that, I took very, very detailed notes of all of the amps, all of the settings and everything. So eventually I will get around to remaking them all. Hopefully it will happen in the next couple of months. I was hoping to have it done by now, and it just hasn't worked out, unfortunately. In addition to that, I'm hoping to make these tones and amps amps available for other platforms as well that allow for it. So hopefully stay tuned for that. Now, let's stop talking, Troy. Stop talking and let's listen to some sounds. So as a starter, I've got the Cornford MK50 up. I actually use the demos in TONEX quite a lot when I'm dialing in sounds, because I think they are, they're really useful. I'm not sure if other people have found this, but sometimes if you are playing through studio monitors or in a situation where there isn't otherwise loud guitar, like a cabinet or something like that, the volume of the strings can be quite distracting as to the volume of what's coming out of the speakers. And I tend to find I've struggled to dial in modelers for that reason. So just to have some sound reamped is really useful. So there's a couple of these presets that I quite like a lot, but we'll start with the gritty one. I tend to like gritty. I like rider. I like dirt sometimes. I like shine for the cleaner stuff. I'm going to leave, for the dirtier sounds, I'll leave all the effects off. But if I go to a cleaner tone, I might just flick the reverb on, because it does really kind of need a little bit of help. That's the Cornford. Some cool sounds in that. Let's go over to the JMP. This is one of my favorite amps that I own. This is like my desert island amp, and hopefully I'll never be in a position where I won't have to be able to use it. But luckily I've got it captured in any which way. And I do actually have this in a little TONEX 1 pedal that I use for one of the more high profile gigs that I do. And I mean, I can safely say these tones have been played to like 60,000 people in a stadium, as well as being televised nationwide in Australia here. So they work good enough for that. I can tell you that. Let's have a listen to what these ones sound like. The head-first amp here, this is I think all on the documentation on the website, but JEL is Jakey Lee, so there's a switch for the Jakey Lee mod, and there's a switch for Jose diode clipping, so you can, on the amp itself, I can flick them on or off, or have them both on at the same time, and I've got captures of all that in this pack. So I really like that amp. Let's go to the MP1, which is just a old favorite of mine, and has been for a long time. Let's try this one. This particular sound here is the MW Michael Wagner number 45 patch, which is the sort of famous sound that Michael Wagner used on a lot of those 80s albums that I really like. I do have two versions of it. There's the one that has an X and one that doesn't. The X has a boost in front, which is a Proco Rat. So X, you can kind of work out, if you're clever, what that's kind of theoretically modeled on. But this is a cool sound that I like quite a lot. And I'd say the cool thing about TONEX and the cool thing about some of these amps is you're probably not going to be dragging out an 80A MP1 to do some modern music. But if you try it it can work. It can work pretty well. I kind of like the idea that maybe somewhere someone's got a 9-string guitar running like one of these EP boosted ADA MP1 sounds, or Proco rap boosted sounds, and getting something that's kind of usable. So hey, if that's you, man, congratulations, and please let me know. I want to quickly have a look, excuse me, at maybe some of the cleaner sounds in this. It's quite a pretty clean sound. I said having the reverb on does help with a sound like this, but it's still really touch sensitive, and it does suit. It can suit a lot of different music, I think. So MP1, we'll go to the stiletto next, which my experience with the stiletto is that there seems to be some guitar players that like the idea of distortion but are scared of it when they hear it. I can't just say it any other way, and I've had it happen a couple of times. But I've pulled the stiletto out in situations where people have wanted a little bit more saturation but haven't wanted like full-on heavy metal. So this one's actually won a few times, and hence why I decided to capture it. So we'll go to something. We'll go back to our good friend Gritty. Quite like that sound. I also really like the stiletto here for the cleaner, and just like edgy, like on the verge of kind of breaking up tones. That's a really, really nice sound to me. It's really clear on top, still has a lot of body to it and a lot of spank. Last but not least, the Evil Robot, which is, excuse me, it's a small combo. I've got a few captures of it like really cranked up. It's certainly not a tight sounding amp. When I've used it in the studio, it has been like balls out rock and roll with guitar players standing right next to the amp, and it's a very, very, very fun sound to play through. It's certainly not going to work for everything. We'll put it on our good friend Gritty. Not the sort of sound you use for that sort of playing style, but a lot of mid-range, and it really sticks out. But I love the clean sounds on this too. So we can go to something like this and pop a little bit of reverberation on it. It's a pretty cool, versatile amp. So that's the amps available in the Volume 1 collection. They're available, each amp you can buy individually, or you can buy the whole set in one hit, which is at a discounted price. I think it's usually about, I think it's $30 cheaper maybe, or thereabouts, to buy everything in one hit, which will be cheaper if you buy the whole set in one hit. So that's everything in Volume 1. There's a sampler pack as well. You just want to hear a couple of different sounds, and they'll be reasonably cheap with the Black Friday sales. Finally, this is the free pack, which has just been done today, as a matter of fact, with the SC20 with the number 34 mod. So that's all I got for you today, everybody. I hope you like the sounds. I hope you make yourself make your way over to hammerspacerecording.com and have a little sift through the tones. There should be a few more details on the packs in particular, and there's individual videos of each amp and some run-throughs that I've done previously on my channel. So yeah, hopefully you dig that. And otherwise, I will see you back on probably Monday for our regularly scheduled guitar videos. Thank you very much. See you later.